Hi there, and thanks again for tuning in to the audio version of the blog Off Grid and Ignorant in Portugal. As always, go on the website, check out the links, the videos, pictures and things like that to see where we're at and how it's all going. This week's episode is called I Love It When a Plan Comes Together. There have been occasions when I've strolled up to our building site expecting a hive of activity, only to discover the Mary Celeste. Perhaps that's an apt comparison, given the abandoned ship was found drifting somewhere between the Azores Islands and the Portuguese coast in 1872, with no crew. What happened to them remains a mystery to this day. Tumbleweeds don't even grow here, but I'd swear I've seen them in the corner of my eye on those days where a sprinkle of drizzle or an ominous weather forecast has kept everyone away, despite a daunting list of deadlines. Inoculated by past disappointments, I wandered up the hill this week with low expectations, only to stumble into rush hour at Paddington Station. I struggled to find a parking space among the various sized white vans, piles of newly delivered limestone cobbles and rumbling trucks. I wandered the scene with my mouth open. There were electricians and carpenters, gutter fitters and pool people, the plumber, the water guy, delivery drivers and, drumroll please, the door and window installers. Yes, our hopes and dreams, our wishes and requests, our letters to Santa Claus have all been answered by the arrival of the PVC people and their large truck of fabulous frames and gorgeous glass. We're finally getting somewhere, after many months of transforming a scraggy eucalyptus forest into something approaching an off-grid eco-luxe resort. And as the workers are seemingly focusing on the finishing line, we're hitting the buy button on chairs and tables, lamps and lounges, umbrellas and bedside tables, to get all the finishings, at least in the post. But what's truly amazing is all our wonderful friends who've been dropping everything to answer our call for help. I'd like to help with some strimming, John Rourke messaged a few weeks ago. With the fire regulations deadline fast approaching for clearing land 50 metres from every building, that is not something you say no to. Our Scottish friend, who lives about 45 minutes away in Sir Cal, arrived with a carload of strimming machines, all fueled up and ready for action. He even brought his own water bottles to keep hydrated through the job. I've been putting off the annual weight loss programme as long as possible, and this was just the kick I needed to get things started. I should know by now that strimmers emerge from their winter hibernation with missing parts, wobbly fittings, and absent essentials, which always require at least a couple of trips to the local steel shop. John's already been strimming his land for weeks and so was totally in the rhythm on the hillside, while I was spending ages getting up to speed. He stayed the night to get an early start and had sorted most of the land above the house before I'd really got anywhere in the citrus grove, moving all the dead agave flowers from last year and trying not to get too tangled up in the ancient unirrigated grapevines and some leftover cord. I'd patched up a dodgy wire strimming fitting, which lasted right up until it didn't, when the whole thing flew off in every direction, including towards the side window of our neighbour Daniel's car. While I can't say for sure that the exploding strimmer was responsible for the shattered glass, it's probably more likely than a toad with a catapult. While John strimmed ever onwards, the steel shop was sadly awaiting a delivery, providing me with just the excuse I needed to focus on something else for the time being. And there has been plenty to focus on. The post-it wall has remained stubbornly static, as the daily demands of project managing the workers and keeping power humming and water running has required regular shuttle runs up and down the valley. Pumps and the various workmen's tools, all running at once, tend to trip the fuses, so it required careful management and repeated visits to the fuse box. Filling the pool without a grid connection was always going to be ambitious. But we'd been told it had to be filled as soon as the final pebble and cement layer had been applied to protect the concrete from cracking in the sun. A little rough mathematics rounded up to the unlikely figure of 70,000 litres needed to get the infinity pool overflowing. But the cost of bringing in fresh water was prohibitive, to say the least. We'd stored about 180,000 litres in a pillow tank at the bottom of the valley, and water consultant Rui Faria had the solar pump all connected and tested, but it only runs in the sun. We'd filled our new tanks at the top of the hill with 30,000 litres ahead of time, but that was just a start. The key was going to be the boreholes, which provide good, clean water and the slight saltiness ideal for a saltwater pool. But right on cue, after years of working brilliantly, our main borehole dramatically failed, and even the brilliant Cristiano couldn't get it going, despite his efforts on the national holiday, the 50th anniversary of the Carnation Revolution. The only solution was using our neighbour Daniel's solar system to power pump the water up the hill. But unexpectedly cloudy skies drained his batteries too, plunging his house into early morning darkness. Overcast skies have slowed the pumps, but have also reduced the threat to the pool from the sunshine, which is now well on the way to being full. It really has been all hands on deck. Our daughter Oda has arrived from LA to bring a much-needed creative touch to the interiors, and we're hugely grateful to artist Ed for dreaming up the idea of our new logo, and to Tim for his design genius in jointly producing something very special. We hope you like it. We're tweaking the stars which form the constellation of Cassiopeia, and we'll be recreating the same pattern on our limestone deck of calçada cobbles in front of the main building. Ex-BBC audio whiz Pete Emerson has been staying with us too, editing and mastering the first few weeks of our wine podcast, which we will be launching really soon, and lending a hand on the building site and with all our landscaping. But above and beyond the call of duty, John Rourke returned, swapping his carload of strimmers for click floor partner in crime Tony, and the two of them set about one of the biggest tasks to be keeping us up at night. I've dabbled with click floors for the guesthouse bathrooms, but the cork boards for our mezzanines required another level of skill and dedication. I'd say they nailed it, but they actually hammered it and levered it and tweaked it and fiddled it and created beautiful floors that we're hugely proud of. They'll be back to finish the job next week, and I might even push my luck and ask about skirting boards. Thank you so much, guys. Everything is starting to take shape, but as April ticks towards May and more volunteers are preparing to arrive to help, we are confident we can get this thing done and get this lodge open. The only problem, and huge concern that fills us with fear as well as frustration, is the licensing part of the project. Our architect has joined the crew of the Mary Celeste and abandoned us in our hour of need. 3 weeks of ghosting has left us panicked that we won't be able to open for the summer or raise the income we need to start paying back our loan. It's a good time and an energising time, but we're not completely out of the eucalyptus woods yet. Thanks again for listening. Do tune in next time and hopefully we'll have even more progress to report. Bye for now.